Welcome back to HMH Saddle Services, and today we're not actually going to be going over any tack. What we are going to be going over is how to shine our boots. So this is something that I've seen at shows, and then I see a lot with younger riders of not really knowing how to care for their boots. So we're going to go over a tutorial here. So these are my boots. Here, we're only going to do one of them, so you can kind of see a comparison. They're a little big, but, such as being a male rider. So one thing I will actually show in a later video is how you can make some stays using a couple pieces of duct tape and some poo noodles. But that's a little bit more of a niche video, so let's get going with shining our boots. First, we're going to start out, we have some very basic care items. This here is partially Kiwi, partially some other stuff that I've bought. You can find this at Walmart, pretty much any hardware store or Amazon. So what we have our polish. So be sure to get the right color. There's a couple colors out there, but most of the time it's going to be black polish. Make sure you get polish or wax, and they're the same thing, but be careful that you don't get, I'm trying to remember, like parade gloss or something like that, because that is something else that you put on boots. So you just want wax polish. Next, we have our applicator. Most of the time these days, this is the applicator that you're going to get in a shoe shine kit. You can still get the horsehair brushes, but the foam brush is a pretty good one, and it is not as you don't need to care for it as much. You can kind of chuck them. You can get them in kits. I've taken the lid from our wax, and put some water in it. You'll see how we do that later. Next, we have our brush. This is a horsehair brush by Kiwi. I have two of these actually. One I use for shining boots. The other I use on saddles for when we're going to get some grippiness on the saddles. That's something we'll talk about in a later video. And then of course I have our shine cloth. So now that we have all of our tools assembled, let's get shining. Now, before I filmed, I took these boots and I just wiped them down with a clean wet cloth and then let them dry. So you always want to get as much dirt and sweat off of your boots as possible before you clean them, because if you don't, that dirt and that sweat, you can actually rub it into the leather and it's going to damage the leather in the long run. So right now we just want to start off with putting down a layer of wax. So what I do is I like to get my applicator wet. Now you may have heard of spit shine. There's a couple different ways of doing that, but basically you're putting moisture onto the leather. There's some more advanced techniques we can do. I don't have my torch out here, but there are some techniques that involve some fire. That's very fun, but that's a little bit more of advanced. So get my applicator wet, give it some moisture, and I'm going to rub it around in my wax to make sure that I get a good application on there. So then what we're going to do is going to take this, and in a circular motion, we are going to apply it. Now you can kind of see there's some damage down here, like right there. Now by putting wax on there, what that does is that gets in and that covers up any damage that's there. Obviously, if your boot's too damaged, you're going to need to take it to a cobbler for repair. But about 99% of the time, adding some wax layers is going to help you get rid of any of those impurities. You're gonna fill up any cuts, any minor scratches, so that they're less visible or not visible when you're finished with the shine. So using small circles, you're going to go around and get the wax on there as best as possible. Now I'm just focusing on the toe cap here today. You do want to work in sections. So normally when I shine these boots, I do the toe cap, and then I will say add a little bit more wax there. I'm going to put some wax on the area between the toe cap and the laces. Get up here where the outside of the foot is, and then you work your way around to the back and then of course the leg. But today we're just going to work on the front part of the boot. Okay. So now that we have that all on there, you can see compared to the other boot, we don't have a shine yet, but we can start seeing some of those little scuffs and cuts that were in there have gone away already just by putting shine on there. And you can see on this boot, there's a little bit of a rub there. So we had one of those on this boot that we're working on, and it has disappeared. So again, that's why we're putting wax on our boots. Also, one thing that you see with boots that are not maintained is that they start cracking. And that is because your leather is drying out. And when your leather gets dry, as you move around in it, it's going to start cracking. And then your boot's going to experience a rip. So by maintaining your boots, keeping them clean, and waxing them, that's going to help keep moisture in the leather and make your boots last longer. Now you can also use, like on our last video, some some cleaning material and some leather care. That's great, but that is not going to give you a shine on your boots. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our brush and we are going to brush the parts that we just added wax on. And again, this is working the wax into the leather and getting rid of excess wax that is on top. And it's going to start, you can see we've gone from having some of those swirls to now we have matte. And you can see it's starting to look better than that other boot. Now, one of the things you can do during this part is add some water to your boot. It's going to help work the wax into the pores of the leather. Another thing that you could do here, and I will do that on another video when we come to boot care, is take a torch and actually use the heat from a torch to open the pores in the leather. So you're just gonna brush that up. Now, if you're someone out there who has a groom for you, and you get on your horse getting ready to go in the show ring, and you're in the warm-up and you look down, you go, oh my God, my boots are so nasty. You can have, if you have a groom or a good friend who acts as a groom for you, they can actually do this for you while you're on horseback. I've done that before. You know, it's something you don't want to do that often, but so much, especially in dressage, is your appearance, and you want to be able to put your best foot forward when you do go into that ring, so that they're only judging you on your riding and not your appearance. Okay. So now we have a bit of a dull shine. You can see here we have some of these little scuff marks here, some lines there. Now what we've done over on this, now have a very steady, starting to shine boot. So now what we're going to do, pardon me, things are starting to fall over here. Now what we're going to do is we are going to take our shine cloth, get this unfolded, and we are going to buff our boots. Now normally I'd put the boot between my legs and do this, but that's a little hard with the video. So we're just gonna buff the toe of our boot right now. Now you can get some inserts into your boot that will help with holding it in place. This is just because I'm wanting to film this and show you what I'm doing. So I'm moving the cloth, and this is a very soft cloth. You can see I've used this before. This very soft cloth. And what it's doing is it is producing that shine we want to see on our boots. You know, any bit that you can do to shine your boots, to take care of them, is really going to help in the long run. You really want to care for your leather products here. Now they do make some things that have this soft material on a brush. Now in this case, this is something I wouldn't normally do, but it's a good way of getting that softer rag on the boots. Okay. Excuse me. All right, let's work that a little bit more. Again, I really want to focus on the toes just for today's video. Gonna get a little bit more water on there. You can use water at any point in the shining process to help add to that sheen. Now, you know, one of the great things about horseback riding is that it teaches us so many life skills, and knowing how to shine your boots is something that everyone should know, and not a lot of people do anymore. You know, you can take this for any of your shoes you have at home that are leather, as long as they're not patent leather, and you can shine them. They make them all shine colors. We have white, we have Cordovan, we have brown, we have all of that. As long as you're using the right color, you can get the appearance you want. I even have some boots that had they're brown, that light brown, but then we put a little bit of Cordovan on them and it gives it a cool look. So that's some other stuff we can talk about in a later video, but this was just a quick video to show you how to shine your boots, and you can see the difference in those two in this short amount of time. You know, this is cleaned, but we have scuffs and other marks on it, and then this is just with a quick shine. You can see how much better that looks. Now, again, we can do some more things to it to get them better, but at the end of the day, that's very basic what you want to do for your boots to ensure that they last you a long time. If you're someone like me, it's hard to find boots in your size. I had to go to about 4 or 5 different tack shops to finally find these that fit me. So, you know, I want to make these last as long as possible. So, keeping your boots in good condition, keeping them clean, keeping them shined is going to be very important for the life of your tack. And again, you can see just it looks better. You know, when you go out fox hunting or into the ring, it's just going to make you look that much better. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, you know, leave me a message, leave a comment, and we will see you next time.